Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, enjoying the streets of Tokyo, Japan. It's absolutely beautiful here. This is actually their rainy season. I'm here in June, so there's taksan ame, lots of rain during this time, but we've had some beautiful days here while I'm here. You know, I wanted to talk a little bit about the rise of Japan as a civilization state. If you're a regular to this channel, we talk a lot about civilization states. Civilization states are very different than globalist structures. Globalist structures are nations that play by what we call a rules-based international order, and that's an order that was invented more or less by the United States after World War II. Civilization states are challenging that order. We're seeing that in Russia, we're seeing it in China, in India, where increasingly more and more nations are opting out of globalism and returning to nation culture, custom, and tradition as the basis of their society. And if it's a huge economic, militaristic, and cultural influence, it'll tend to be referred to as a civilization state. And a lot of scholars have argued that Japan was actually more or less the original civilization state. What makes Japan unique, according to Sam Huntington, who authored the Clash of Civilizations, is that most or all civilizations that he pointed to, about 8 different civilizations, extend beyond any single nation. So you take, for example, the Orthodox civilization. That's Russia, it's Greece, Bulgaria, Romania. Or the Sino civilization. It's China, but it's also Southeast Asia, Korea, and the like. And so what you're, so I'm crossing the street here. And so what you've got in Japan that makes it so unique is that its civilization is specific to its nation. It doesn't go beyond the borders of Japan, as it were. So Japan was a unique civilization state in that its civilization and its state overlapped entirely. Many believe before World War II, Japan really rose up as the first official civilization state of the modern era. After World War II, that's been frustrated by its sort of provisional sovereignty, and that goes back to, of course, Article 9 in their constitution, where they renounced war as a right of national sovereignty. And so the United States has exploited that in many ways, militarily, economically, to more or less make Japan do whatever the US wants it to do in the Pacific region. That is more and more getting challenged by Japan. The conditions are such now that Japan looks like it's ready to reawaken its civilization state. And it's primarily twofold. It's the rise of China, but also the rise of North Korea as a nuclear power. And what that's forcing Japan to do is it's forcing Japan to reinvigorate itself militarily, as well as economically within the particular region. China, right now, is trying to establish itself as a hegemon in the region, primarily through what's called the Belt and Road Initiative. And the Belt and Road Initiative is where they build up underdeveloped societies, nations, through all kinds of infrastructure projects, so as to make China the #1 trade partner with that nation. China right now is the #1 trade partner to 70% of the nations throughout the world. It's an extraordinary initiative, this Belt and Road Initiative. Well, Japan is now challenging China with that, and they call it the QII. I think it's the Quality Infrastructure Investment Initiative, where they're doing their own Belt and Road. They're building up all kinds of underdeveloped countries so that those countries end up becoming the #1 trade partner with Japan. And it's really interesting because when you look at a lot of these nations in Southeast Asia, say Laos or so forth, where you have these roads that have been built, and you'll go on one road and it's bumpy and there's holes and it's dilapidated. And all of a sudden, you just keep driving and you hit a portion of the road that's absolutely immaculate and beautiful and clean and so forth. One was built with the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. The other one was built in accordance with Japan's QII initiative. So you can actually see the two different initiatives kind of connecting together around the same road. It's really fascinating. But what that's ending up doing is it's ending up creating a whole new role for Japan in the Pacific region as a counterbalance to China's rising hegemon. And in the process of that, they're also doubling their military spending. And they're more or less refining Article 9. They now have officially a policy of a counterstrike against a nation that were to attack them. That's something we've not seen in the last 7 decades or so, since the end of World War II. So it's absolutely fascinating to see what's happening with Japan rising as a civilization state in the midst of a changing world. And so as we continue to examine the dynamics that are happening here in Japan and in the Pacific region in general, I think we're seeing the very same dynamics that we've been seeing in Russia, China, and India, Turkey, the return to civilization, the return to nation, culture, custom, and tradition happening here in Japan, but with its own unique geopolitical ideology, its own unique geopolitical cause. It's really, really fascinating stuff. A new civilization state does appear to be emerging in extraordinary ways here. God bless, gang.